meet this woman. She's a hero. So for me, you know, I was hoping for this day, even though it's not in person these days, COVID reality, this is the way we're meeting anyways.
Do you mind if I drive and see if I can find a quieter? Yeah, sure.
Oh,
do you want to announce that everybody should mute?
Yeah, we're gonna mute everybody. Okay, thank you. So I just, so it's a really big honor and thank you. I'm really excited to hear you tonight and welcome.
Thank you. I understand that you have many questions and I'm just open. So anybody who would like to start, we have rabbis here and anybody with a beard is a rabbi? I don't know.
Yeah, so Ezzy's gonna share a couple of words and we're gonna share your bio and then we'll get started with the questions.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to start with the bio, and then I'm actually going to sneak out because it seems like there may be an issue with the account here, but we'll get started. So on behalf of the Los Altos Chabad, the Chabad of North Irvine, Chabad of West Hills, and Chabad of Nevada, we're honored to have Dr. Eger speak and share with us her story. As my wife said, her upcoming, she has a book, The Choice, and she has her upcoming book, which is called The Gift, 12 Lessons to Save Your Life, which I do plan to read once it actually comes out. I want to thank all of tonight's sponsors that helped cover this event. And my wife is going to give an intro to Dr. Eger.
Okay, so I'm gonna read your bio. A native of Hungary, Edith Eva Eger was just a teenager in 1944 when she experienced one of the worst evils the human race has ever known. As a Jew living in Nazi-occupied Eastern Europe, she and her family were sent to Auschwitz, the heinous, I'm not even exactly sure how to say that, death camp. Her parents were sent to the gas chambers, but Edith's bravery kept her and her sister alive. Toward the end of the war, Edith and other prisoners had been moved to Austria. On May 4th, 1945, a young American soldier noticed her hand moving slightly amongst a number of dead bodies. He quickly summoned medical help and brought her back from the brink of death. After the war, Edith moved to Czechoslovakia, where she met the man she would marry. In 1949, they moved to the United States. In 1969, she received her degree in psychology from the University of Texas, El Paso. She then pursued her doctoral internship at the William Beaumont Army Medical Center at Fort Bliss, Texas. Dr. Eger is a prolific author and a member of several professional associations. She has a clinical practice in La Jolla, California, and holds a faculty appointment at the University of California, San Diego. She has appeared on numerous television programs, including CNN and the Oprah Winfrey Show, and was the primary subject of a Holocaust documentary that appeared on Dutch national television. She is frequently invited to speaking engagements throughout the United States and abroad. The Choice is a life-changing book that will provide hope and comfort to generations of readers. Dr. Eger's newest book is now available for pre-order on Amazon or directly through her website. Dr. Eger survived unspeakable horrors and brutality, but rather than let her painful past destroy her, she chose to transform it into a powerful gift, which she uses to help others heal. She wrote her first book, The Choice, at the age of 90, which became an international bestseller. Dr. Eger has not let her age get in the way of her continuing efforts to educate. She doesn't plan on slowing down anytime soon. That's pretty amazing. So I'm sure we're all, what do you want to say?
I just want to thank you so much for introducing me. And I know that the Rebbetzin has a calling that you have to make your husband feel that he makes all the decision, and yet the women get together, and I know that you're not smart, you're wise, and I'm hoping to be wise as well. So I don't care about the chronological age at all. It's gonna happen anyway. So I like to talk to you about how to think young, but not being young and foolish, and how to live in the present, because I can only touch you now. And if you still live in the past, and if you still live in hate and anger, I think then, unfortunately, you're still a prisoner. And I am hoping to guide others to know that, in a sense, we are all victims of victims, but it's not who we are. It's not our identity. It's what was done to us. And I think there is a differentiation between you being and you doing. I may not like what you're doing, but you are beautiful. Because young people tell me God doesn't make junk, and I love that. You know, we are all one of a kind, unique, authentic diamond in a rough.
It's beautiful. Thank you. So true.
And I don't ask how I can help you, because I'm not Humpty Dumpty. I'm not putting people together, but I do ask, how can I be useful to you? Because, you know, you cannot do anything for anyone. You cannot teach anything to anyone unless they have the desire to learn. So I like to create the atmosphere when I speak at the schools, so they would stay in school, that they would not smoke pot because it interferes with the natural growth of the brain. And you don't know anything yet until you're 25 because your brain is not developing. But teenagers want everything now, easy. And I keep telling them, look at the birth certificate. It doesn't say life is easy. There is no guarantee. There is no certainty, but there is probability. The way you think is going to change your whole body chemistry. And that is science. The way you are thinking, you actually create what you think.
Yes.
Lots to say, and we only have an hour, so I want to hear you guys.
Okay. Thank you. So we're going to jump in. I'm going to say that for if any of you have questions for Dr. Eger, you could text them throughout the session. We only have an hour. Chat them, and then we'll try to address whatever we can at the end. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask Rabbi Menachem Lando, please, from Nevada, to start the questions, please.
Please unmute yourself.
Hello, Dr. Eger. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm so excited for all our communities to be joining and hearing you and meeting you is very exciting. Just for some Jewish geography, Leonore, Amy's mom, is a good friend of ours. Amy's a good friend of ours, so it's lovely to have that connection. And also, my cousin plays squash with Steve Weitzen from La Jolla.
Oh, my precious Steve, Rabbi.
Yeah.
You know, Rabbi, you have the kindest face I've ever
Thank you.
seen.
I hope my mother is on. I'm sure she would agree.
Oh, I love your ways of, it just shows the kindness and love that you have within you.
Thank you. Thank you. So Dr. Eger, I read your book and I read it over. I have it actually right here with the pencil. I had so many things that stuck out and that really is life-changing. Learn how to apply what you've experienced into your life, and to share it is something just incredible. So we have a number of questions. I'm going to be really talking about your pre-war and your war years, and the healing after that, and then I'll give it on to Rabbi Rabin, who will talk about many life lessons to learn. We're going to assume that people didn't read your book, although we certainly recommend this book and also the new book that's coming out this month. But we're going to start as if people are not familiar with the book. So could you speak about maybe a memory from your life before the war, from your time before the war and your family?
I was born into a very talented family. My parents had two beautiful girls, Magda, who played the piano, and even today she's alive and well, and she was the pretty one. She calls me sometimes and tells me she's gorgeous. And my sister, Clara, who became a child prodigy in violin, and my parents decided it's time to have a son. And guess what happened? You know, I came along, so I can tell you that I was really the runt in my family because I became cross-eyed, and my sisters blindfolded me so no one would see what an ugly sister I was. I can still sing it to you in Hungarian, that I'm so ugly and puny and I'm never gonna find a husband. And I tell people, young people, don't allow anybody to define who you are. It reminds me of my granddaughter, who was in a very special class when she was 10 years old. The IQ studied over 145. And she invited me because it was Grandma's Day, and the teacher called her my little red caboose. And Lindsay was a perfectionist. She would erase things 10 million times, and she decided that she doesn't qualify to stay in a class, and she was ready to step out. And this is the first time when I talked to her about Auschwitz, that she cannot really allow other people to name her and label her. Anyway, I was quite successful. She went back to school, and when it came to go to college, she wrote her autobiography, and the title was When the Red Caboose Became an Engine. And I think this is where I like to be always, for
Amazing.
everyone to have a goal, to pick an arrow that you're going to really not revolving, but evolving. So
Amazing. Amazing.
my mom looked at me very seriously and said, I'm glad you have brains because you have no looks. It's very important that I became a very erudite, very, very highly educated youngster, which didn't hurt me any because I graduated with honors, cum laude. So I think it's very important today for people to take stock of themselves and the messages they still carry with them.
Amazing.
I was unfortunately part of the final solution of Eichmann on May 1944, when I was on the same transport. When I met Elie Wiesel, we thought we were on the same big transport going from my city, Hungary, Kassa, to Auschwitz. So I was a very happy little girl when my mother took me to a ballet school, and he picked me up and he told me that God was beautifully created me, and I have to look at life from inside out, that I have to find all the ecstasy within me. But obviously I had no idea what he was talking about until I realized in Auschwitz that nothing came from the outside. There was a fire coming from the chimney, and I had to learn and listen to the loving God who guided me to change hatred into pity. I decided that they were brainwashed and they had to carry this uniform and they will pay for it. That I decided that I could put me in a gas chamber any minute. They could beat me and torture me, but I never allowed them to murder my spirit.
So Dr. Eger, that's amazing. And right before actually you went to Auschwitz, I think Passover, 1944, was your last time as a family.
Passover, anytime, every year that I am. The last Passover, my father got up and he kissed us, each of us on the head. And the following morning we were picked up.
Did your father give you any guidance during that Seder? Or what guidance?
You see, my father was a tailor.
Louis.
And mother made him feel that she married down. So my father became a couturier. And she told me that when I grow up, I'm gonna be the best dressed girl in town. And I say, Papa, watch me. Yes, yes, I like good clothes. I wear them over and over again. And I think my papa would be very proud of me. He was such a ladies' man, you know, the top hat and the cane, very, very beautiful, very very talented child of God.
And
But
you
when
were very close with your, oh, sorry, go ahead.
When we arrived in Auschwitz and he was reading about Mark Twain, he said to us, you know, don't be afraid, honey, because all we have to do is go to work and then we go home. That's what happened.
So on the way to Auschwitz, you were crammed in a cattle cart with 1,000 other people, and you remember from between the slats of you had a boyfriend. What did he tell you?
My boyfriend and I were very active Zionists. We were going to go to Palestine. We belonged to the Bethar, and he told me that I will never forget your eyes and your hands. And let me tell you, that kept me alive, because I said to myself, if I survive today, then tomorrow I'm going to see Imre.
Wow.
That's his name, Imre Friedman. And that's what kept me going, that I'm going to show him my eyes and my hands.
So you got to Auschwitz together with your parents and Magda. What happened when you were in line? What happened when you entered Auschwitz?
We didn't know what was going to happen, and then we were separated, and then my sister and I and mom in the middle entered this line, and the man asked, is this your mother or is this your sister? And I never forgave myself, year after year after year. And I said, it's my mother. And so he pointed for my mother to go to the left. And I followed my mother. Now, this is really Camus' absurdity. The very man who annihilated my family looked me in the eye. I never forget those eyes. And he said, you're going to see your mother very soon. She's just going to take a shower. And bodily threw me on the other side, which meant life.
Wow. And then your
And then,
sister, you had your hair was shaved, and your sister was a beautiful one, Magda.
A beautiful one. We were completely shaven, completely shaven. We were there, you know, very embarrassed. And Magda looked at me and asked, how do I look? That's really a Hungarian woman's question. How do I look? And so I had a choice then, as you have a choice now. Whether you concentrate and pay attention what you don't have. I call these people, yes, but people. Sometimes we mothers say, you're a very pretty girl, but you're a little fat and a little pimply. And I say, give me the butt and I give you an and. Yes, and so forth. And so I realized that I became her mirror. So instead of really telling her how she looked completely naked, no hair, I said to her, Magda, you have beautiful eyes, and I didn't see it when you had your hair all over the place. So again, today I ask people, look for the light, look for the gift in everything, and get rid of yes, but, and say, yes, and I made it. Life is difficult. Look at your birth certificate. It doesn't say life is easy. There is no any guarantee or certainty, but there is probability.
It's so powerful, Dr. Eger, amazing. And when just before you were the angel of death, you were Dr. Mengele, you were showing he would point to the right or to the left. Do you consider yourself that you were in Mengele's hands or in God's hands at that point?
Were you in Mengele's hands or in God's hands?
I think that God had a plan for me. I pray every day in Hungarian. Even when I drive and I come home in my alley, I thank God for bringing me home. My God shows me love, joy, passion, and purpose in life. And I am just human. I am limited. I ask people to get rid of the need for other people's approval, the need to please everyone, and most of all, perfectionism.
Oh, wow.
Because if you are a perfectionist, you're going to also become a person who will procrastinate, because you want to do everything just right, which means never, because we're human, to accept each other. It's okay to be average. It's okay to make a C or a D. And I kind of ask people to look at me, and they call me a spiritual midwife. And I kind of like that you give birth to the you, the you that you adore, because self-love is self-care. It's not narcissistic.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eger. And then you were, as you were a ballet and then a gymnast, and you were training for the Olympics. So somehow you were asked to dance. You were brought in to dance for the Angel of Death. How did you? What gave you the strength to not go crazy? To be there dancing.
You know, people ask me, how did you feel? And I'm telling you, I was void of feelings. I didn't cry. I was numb. I was in shock. So when he came to the barracks and he wanted to be entertained, the girls who were with me in school, they just shoved me in front of him, and he said, dance for me. And when I danced for him, what I remember, he was pointing out to take to the gas chamber, and I began to pray so I wouldn't be the next one to go. And I closed.
Is this her issue?
I think there's a problem with her internet connection.
Well, hopefully it'll come right back.
Yeah, we'll wait a moment. In the meantime, I'll take this as an opportunity for, if anybody has questions, please put them in the chat box, because at in the third portion, we're going to field the questions.
Oh man, look at this.
She'll probably come right back on. Just be patient and she'll come back on. But yeah, put your questions in the chat box, and we will get them answered. Call.
You go. Okay.
Okay.
So you were talking about dancing the Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, like I'm not sure at what point we couldn't hear you. So we're asking about how you got the strength to dance, and so I didn't hear the Romeo and Juliet part. Please start that again.
That's right. And after I was done, he gave me.
But wait, they didn't hear that part. They didn't hear the part where you imagined that you were dancing.
I closed my eyes and I imagined that the music was Tchaikovsky, and I was dancing the Romeo and Juliet at the Budapest Opera House. You see, I just checked out, and today when I work with women and men who have been sexually abused, that's what they tell me, that they checked out, but they're still checking out. And now they are in their 40s and 50s, and I'm hoping to let them see that they can liberate themselves. So it's very important to think about your thinking and pay attention what you're paying attention to. Any behavior you pay attention to, you reinforce that behavior.
Beautiful. How would you say, Dr. Eger, that being there dancing, did that end up saving your life? You were given bread for dancing. What would you do with that bread?
What did you do with the bread that Mengele gave you?
I could have gobbled it up, you know, but I was on the top. There were 3 parts. I was on the top, and we had to have a cooperation. One had 1 foot, one had 1 foot. So if somebody wanted to turn around, 1, 2, 3, all 6 of us had to turn around.
Wow.
There was no competition or domination, only cooperation, because we had to form a family of inmates. And that is so important for me to tell you, that I shared the bread with every one of the girls. And when I was in a death march going from Mauthausen, Austria to Gunskirchen, if you stopped, you were shot right away. And I began to slow down. And I was about to be shot myself. And the girls who I shared the bread with came and they carried me. They formed a chair with their arms and they carried me so I wouldn't die.
Wow.
I know you would have done that too. I know the Chabad people would, because Leona's daughter gave birth, and the Chabad brought them lunch and dinner every day for weeks. This is amazing, that love is not what you feel, is what you do. And the father is a good role model to the children, how he treats the children's mother, how you bring breakfast in bed. And my late husband used to buy me papaya in Juarez, Mexico. And when my daughter came home from the University of Texas and saw me in the bed with my Christian Dior gown and my husband feeding me papaya, because she said that she was a communist. And she told me, "Mother, you are disgusting." I don't think she would say that today. She didn't realize that I gave my husband the gift of giving, that he had such joy feeding me papaya, but that doesn't mean I am a dumb little blonde. And I think that's what marriage is all about. Actually, 2 things. It's give and take and tolerating differences.
Wow. And so just on my list of things to do, I have to add tomorrow morning to give my wife breakfast in bed. That's what I should be doing tomorrow. Right, Dr. Eger?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can make latkes easily. Easily, yes.
So you survived the death march, where an American soldier from the 71st Infantry found you under a pile of dead bodies. If I read it correctly, you had a broken back, you had pneumonia, typhoid fever. I think you mentioned 5 typhoid fevers. You survived.
I survived. You see, cannibalism broke out when we were there, and people were eating other people's flesh. And I remember now today I tell people, go see The Sound of Music, because I was there. I was there in Austria, and I asked God to help me, because I don't want to touch human flesh. And you know, God told me to look down. And I remember choosing one blade of grass over and against the other. So when someone says I can't, especially in school, I run into the blackboard, I can't on the board, and then I take the apostrophe and the T, I can. Why? Because I think I can. Mm-hmm. That's the whole cognitive psychology is based on a philosopher, Epictetus, who said that it's not what happens make us feel the way we feel, but the way we view it. And I think this is where we are, that it's not what happens. And I become a good ophthalmologist because I I give you the same situation and look at it from a different perspective.
Wow.
That Auschwitz was an opportunity to discover your inner strength. And the more you suffered, the stronger you became.
My final two questions. What did your mother tell you before going into Auschwitz that kept you strong, that kept you alive?
Thank you. My mother had a sixth sense, and she said, we don't know where we're going, honey. We don't know what's going to happen. Just remember, no one can take away from you what you put in your own mind. And this is exactly what happened. And when I was working with 2 Vietnam veterans, and I realized that that somehow I wasn't able to take them further than I have gone myself. And I decided that I want to go back to Auschwitz. I felt like an imposter. And I asked Magda to come with me. And she told me I'm an idiot. So we experienced the same thing, but we responded differently. The work I do today is about grieving, and you cannot grieve unless you learn to feel. You can talk about grieving, you want to feel the feeling. So grief is not clinical depression, and it's not about what happened, it's what didn't happen. And an example I come up with that when my first grandchild was born, and the pediatrician examined her and told me that she's very flexible, she might become a ballerina. And I said, oh, now I can die because my blood is in her.
Wow.
And guess what? She did become a little ballerina. And when she was my age, and she was in high school, and she asked me to buy her a dress so she can go to her dance. And then I came home, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, I was crying. See, I didn't understand, what am I crying? I just bought her a beautiful dress. And I realized that I'm not crying. Actually, we don't grieve over what happened. We grieve over what didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I cried because I never went to a dance. And that's the work I do now, to be able to go through the grief, the shock, the denial, the anger that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross tells us. But she also tells us that death is the last celebration of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at life as one day. And I'm in the evening part of my life. And I ask myself, how do I want to be remembered? And I think the Jewish people do wonderful things about the Shiva, that you allow people to grieve,
Mm-hmm.
not to get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
But also the Torah said after 1 year, leave the dead alone. So I'm guiding people to go back to the cemetery and to make contact and see how they can celebrate the life that they had with that person. I was just talking to many women a month ago, and they were carrying the picture, the son that I lost. And then I told them, I don't think life is about lost and found. So how old was your son? 29. I said, God sent that spirit to you for 29 years. And you going to take care of that 29 years and celebrate everything, or you're going to just go to the cemetery as you do every day, and your other children are waiting for you, and they think dying in this family, you get more attention than being around. So you got to be very, very careful that it's grieving, feeling, and healing to go through the valley of the shadow of death. But don't get stuck in there. And many people get addicted to anger, not realizing that when you're angry at someone, you gave your power away. Get your power back. Don't react, learn to respond.
Thank
And
you
I-
so much. I'll give it over to Rabbi Rabin now. I'm so inspired, and there's so much to think about in what you're saying, Dr. Eger. Thank you so much. I'll give it to Rabbi Rabin with Chabad of West Hills.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Eger. My name is Rabbi.
Hello.
How are you? I'm from Chabad of West Hills. I want to first and foremost, as mentioned previously by the other rabbis and rebbitzins, that it's an honor and a privilege really to meet you, even over Zoom, but just to hear you. You are a source of light and comfort and joy to me and to everybody. And I want to thank you for the great light and joy that you bring to the world. Thank you.
Your hair is like my father's. Yes.
Thank you. So, Dr. Eger, I'd like to ask you, I'd like to thank Rabbi Landau for focusing more on the beginning of your life and your story, but I wanted to focus on a few more just perhaps psychological or spiritual questions. So one question I'd like to ask you is when you were interviewed on Oprah, she asked you if you lost God or lost faith in the camps. And you answered that on the contrary, you found God in the camps. And the question I'd like to ask you is, obviously every Holocaust survivor had their own experience and we don't judge anybody. We're just thankful and we're respectful of everybody. But can you speak a little bit about that idea of how you found God in the camps and how people can work on dealing with tragedy and trials and challenges in their life and finding God in those?
When people ask where was God in Auschwitz, and I say, God was with me. God showed me how not to touch the guards because I would have been shot. The God showed me how I can feel actually sorry for the guard and change hatred into pity. And I was able to somehow be guided by that God who told me, this is temporary. It's not permanent. That God gave me hope in hopelessness, and that God is guiding me now too, because I want to do everything in my power to see to it that your children, grandchildren, and I have 7 great grandsons, will never experience what I did. I owe it to my parents. You have your calling, you became a rabbi, and I have my calling to be a good guide, and hopefully I can be, because the young people need good role models, and I hope to be a good one. And I think that I do everything in my power to see to it that my parents and grandparents and everybody else didn't die in vain. So I'm very committed to do my calling, and I live in a present, and I think young, but not young and foolish. I still like the big band. I have a guy who also likes the big band, and children call it supermarket music or elevator music. You can have your rockin' and rollin', it's fine. It doesn't mean my music is better than your music. I'm not comparing at all. I am extremely grateful to be 92 and get up every morning and look at the sunshine and commit myself to the day that I can be useful.
Well, you've definitely done an amazing job in making your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents, I think all the way back to Moses. I think Moshe Rabbeinu is looking down on you and smiling and saying, that's my great-granddaughter, continuing the light and the joy in the amazing life that you're living. So thank you. So the next question I have for you is, could you give some insights? I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but the world around us now with COVID and all kinds of unrest that's happening in the world today, and there appears to be a lot of hatred and uncertainty in the world today. Could you share some thoughts of that on how we can find God, how we can find more meaning, how we can find more happiness, joy, etc. in our lives going through these global challenges?
I believe that Einstein once asked, do you believe in God? And as I recall, he said, I believe in Spinoza's God. And you find that also in the Torah, that you have a God within you. That do you recall anything like that? that I was guided actually to do what's humanly possible, and knowing that I'm limited, I'm not limitless, but then handed over. God is the boss. God is everything to me. It's not I believe in God, it's I know that. And you know, when people say to me, I believe, I believe, I believe, you know, I'm more interested what kind of life you lead. Show me, show me. You know, you can say love, love, love. So what does it mean? So my definition of love is the ability to let go. Let go. Let go of the need to think very much like a victim. You were victimized, but victims are rigid and survivors are more flexible. So now we have this COVID-19. No one ever prepared us for that. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to shake your fist at God. I think God gives us permission to go through that anger, as long as you go through the valley of the shadow of death, but don't get stuck in there. Because while you're angry, you're gonna live in fear. And I've never seen love coming out of fear. Have you? Fear and love does not coexist. Neither does guilt. So if you're guilty, if you can possibly tell yourself, if I knew better then, if I knew then, my parents would have not gone to Auschwitz. My parents had tickets to go to America, but we didn't know. And now we don't know either. We were not prepared for this COVID. It's what you do with it, that every moment is precious. Children blame. While you blame, you're still a child. If you ask, why do you do things, a kid would say, because I feel like it. See, I still feel like it to eat the chocolate and the ice cream. But I know that if I eat much, my back is going to hurt me more. So I think it's good to be childlike, but not childish. So the children who are childish, they say, I want, I need, I gotta have, you're not gonna make me, and I'm not gonna. Now that language is really not a good language of a survivor. The survivor is capable of somehow finding the best way possible for me to use this moment, that I can grow from it, I can learn something from it. And yes, say a lot of yeses. Yes, I am. Yes, I can. Yes, I will. A lot of yeses. I had a patient of mine running a marathon and got stuck and got stuck and got stuck. And then she ran into my office, Dr. Eger, I did it. I said, what happened? Well, I didn't think I was gonna do it. And then I said to myself, yes, I am. Yes, I can. Yes, I will. And I did it. See, so be your own good encourager, your cheerleader. Yes, I am. Yes, I can. Rather than I don't like that and I don't want that. And to really think about how you want to be remembered. And I hope that I'm going to be very happy in my deathbed. I'm going to be very happy knowing that I said yes to you, that I'm going to yes to the precious Chabad. And if I can go and hug you right now, it would be great. But imagine that I'm hugging you and letting you know that God only made one of you. There'll never, ever, ever be in a million years another Rabbi, Rabin, and Rabbi
Landa.
Linda
Menachem.
Menachem and Rabbi Shuraman. Yes, yes. So
Thank you.
I love the Chabad. I think that you create a wonderful world that we going to unite rather than separate, that we're going to hold hand in hand and form a human family. So that's why I call you the ambassador for peace and goodwill.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eger. I was going to ask you about your relationship with Chabad, but you beat me to it. You already just mentioned it. And I'm going to hand over now to Rabbi Eli to ask questions that have come in, but I wanted to just again thank you so much. You are a light and an inspiration and are absolutely amazing. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Rabin. Thank you. And hello, Rabin.
No, he's on mute. He'll be. Rabbi Eli needs to be.
Just give me 1 second. I need to unmute him. I'm trying to find him. We have 156 people on at the moment.
See that? Good job.
There we go. There we go.
Hello, welcome. Thank you very much. It's a real honor to actually get to meet you. We had you in Irvine just about 2 years ago.
I did, and I love the way you welcome me. You are my family. I am part of your precious family. I never forget you.
So we really appreciate the fact that we have another opportunity to spend some time together with you. And of course, I just want to echo all the sentiments that were already said by the colleagues, the other rabbis over here. All right, that your words definitely inspire the soul, and that it's a gift that we are blessed to be able to hear from you this evening. And I guess people have questions, and we'll try to address them and pick out which ones they are. So if anybody wants to ask a question, I'll try to field them. Please put them again in the chat. So I'll just randomly go through based on ones that came in. So the first question that came is, why is it? I think just kind of really answered already, but that why are you not bitter and full of hate after the fact of all the suffering that you went through? I think you really touched upon that, but
why are you not bitter?
Why am I not bitter? Because I like to be known that instead of bitter, I become better. And that this is my goal in life, that every day, in every way, I am hoping to be a better role model for others. I don't have time to be bitter, actually. It's not the best I can do. I think it's okay to be bitter as long as you don't get stuck in that, and recognizing that life is difficult, there is no guarantee, there is no certainty, and it's okay to have any feelings. Don't judge a feeling. Just sit down, invite a feeling, that's what I do, and feel the feeling, and then decide whether I'm going to hold on to it, and if I do, how long. But I think love is the ability to let go. My need for approval of other people, and let's see how you can let go of something and replace it with something else. Many years ago, I used to drive a car with a stick shift. So if you are in a stick shift, at one point, your car is talking to you. And what you have to do is switch gears, but you have to release the clutch. It's about, life is about holding on, letting go, holding on, letting go. I will never forget Auschwitz. Part of me was left in Auschwitz. I will not overcome it. I don't know that word. I came to terms with it. I call it my cherished wound, because Auschwitz gave me the opportunity to discover my inner strength that I use today to guide other people from victimization to empowerment, from darkness to light, because the end of the tunnel, there is the light. After the rain, there is the rainbow. So I choose, because I tell you what I lived. And when I was liberated, and they put me in a cast in a hospital, and I could hardly talk because my lungs was filled with water. And I got up in the morning and I realized that my parents are not coming back. While I was there, I could still dream about the time, but now the reality hit me and I became very suicidal. I just wanted to die. It's easier to die than to live. But I know that God, my God, told me that if I die now, I will be a coward. And I remember God's voice said, if you choose to live, I'm going to show you how to be for something, for life. And that's when I decided in the bed, after I was liberated, that I choose life and to be for something rather than against. So I tell you every word that I'm telling you is because I lived it. And thank God it worked because I'm here. The proof is here. I eat very carefully and I never throw food away. If you invite me, you can tell the rabbi will tell you. I finish everything on my plate. And if you don't eat it, I'll eat it, or I pack it up and I take it home. And so I'm still very, very careful how not to put anything on my plate until I am finished. So after this, I'm going over to my daughter's home and I'm going to be with my great grandsons. And I have the latest one, a pair of boys, twins, and they are beautiful, beautiful little boys. Here they are. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, they can see. They
Okay.
can see.
So this is where I am to enjoy every moment. And I think the God that I talk about is not that what I believe in, it's what I know. What I know that it's my duty to do everything in my power, that I was saved in May 1944 to be here today to celebrate everything and grieve over my parents. I still miss my mother. I never had a relationship with an adult mother. I didn't know how to raise children. People ask me, did you love your husband? And I say, love. I was hungry. I was lonely. I was skinny. And he bought me Hungarian salami and he bought me Swiss cheese. What do you mean love? I never had that, dating someone and dumping them. I did have a boyfriend and we had our own book club and we were gonna go to Palestine. So I was a very learned, erudite teenager. And now I can realize that I can enjoy life now, to be childlike, but not to complain. You can acknowledge that we don't like what's happening. Who said that life is easy? I know that this is very difficult because we don't know what's going to happen next.
Okay. Somebody else asked a question that you mentioned earlier about Dr. Elie Wiesel. And I guess, did you have any interactions with him? Was it during the war? Was it only after the war?
After the war, when we met, we decided that we were possibly on the same transport. If somebody could do some research, but no, I never had anything to do with him. He was just a brilliant man, and what happened that my friend Philip Zimbardo kept telling me that the people who survived and are famous are all men, that I have to be the female voice. So you see, so that's what you're getting here. I'm getting the female voice, and I would like the children who read Elie Wiesel to also read The Choice. That is maybe going to give them a choice today to make a decision to be childlike but not childish, to be able to not use anything that will unfortunately poison their minds. So no, I adore a brilliant, wonderful Elie Wiesel. there'll never be anyone like that. And I think that he had the courage to really commit totally his life to the work that he took upon himself.
All right, another question. When we're thinking about famous people that you've met, and I guess in your life as in the work that you do, I guess someone else also asked you, you have the opportunity to meet Dr. Viktor Frankl.
Yes, I wouldn't be here without that, because when I read Man's Search for Meaning, I wanted to write 10 more pages for everyone. And I wrote an article called Viktor Frankl and Me, the Little Old Me, and it was published, and someone sent it to him to Vienna. And I got a letter from Viktor Frankl, and we met in San Diego. He was teaching a course on the wonderful Man's Search for Meaning. And he was taking flying lessons, and he was in his 70s. Amazing, amazing. So that's how I became a logotherapist. I'm a diplomate in logotherapy, and my book is The Female Voice of Viktor Frankl. But you know, he was in his 30s and an MD in Auschwitz, and I was a 16-year-old in love. So you see, it was a different time in our lives.
I guess people, as in your role, and I think you touched upon it earlier, but perhaps for me to elaborate a little bit, I guess what everyone's going through right now with the whole corona and different things, either advice of how to deal with it or, deal with the challenges.
It's just really how we can do the best we can to acknowledge that maybe there is some gift in everything. And I find that a time out period. See, I think you have a harder time if you're an extrovert. But if you're an introvert, I think you welcome the time to be with yourself, because it's very good company. In fact, it's the best to be with yourself and not to think that you really are missing something. So I think if you are very extroverted, you possibly will have a harder time. Is that true with you? I don't know. I'd like to hear your response. But in families, I think it's a wonderful time to write a commandment in this family that there is no freedom without responsibility. Freedom without responsibility is anarchy. And there is no punishment in the family, there is only consequence. So if you make rules and the children are part of the decision-making process, you're going to have a family and nobody's gonna yell at you or call you names. But I tell people, if you are with a bully and a bully is going to try to put you down, a couple of things you can do. You may say, I don't want to hurt you. Why do you want to hurt me? Or you can just say, maybe, is this the best you can do? I mean, don't get into conversations, but somehow acknowledge that when someone throws out the rope, you don't pick it up, because it takes two to fight. It takes one to stop it.
On a very different topic, just going through, we're almost finished with all the questions. Someone's asking over here, what do you answer someone who denies the Holocaust?
Well, the very good thing that you can know, and what I'm saying is that when I heard it from the Iranian guy, Ahmadinejad, and he said the Holocaust didn't exist, but it came to me that Ahmadinejad did not read Plato. Because Plato said that you have to think of a lie, and it has to be a big one, and then you repeat it until people believe it. Our biggest enemy is ignorance. I ask children to question the teachers and question authority, rather than blindly adhering to authority. So I think it's very good to go back to the Greeks and see how we can somehow question authority, because sometimes the emperor has no clothes on, doesn't even wear shorts. You ask such good questions. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
I think we have just a moment for the last final question. And again, once again, we really appreciate your time. I guess a message to the next generation today, a message to today's youth.
And the next generation is that I believe in you. I have hope for you. I look at you as the ambassador. You are the future. Please look at me. And I hope that you can really bring us together. We can find peace and goodwill. And I'm having faith in you. I have faith in you that you're going to do everything in your power to create a world where we can hold hand in hand, and hopefully we get rid of the anti-Semitism and the hatred, that we can support each other and form a beautiful, loving human family. God love you. Thank you. Shalom.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eger, for your dedication, your time, and doing this beautiful event. We are really grateful and very inspired.
Thank you.
For those of you who are, on August 30th, we're going to be having a pre-September 11th event with a speaker who survived September 11th. And you'll get an email from your respective Chabad for the link. But thank you all for joining us, and have a great night.